Disc 4. Chapter 14. Refiner's Fire. The battle for truth is waged upon untruth. When the flames have consumed all, and the smoke is cleared, only truth remains. Destroy everything. Burn it all. Incinerate even your heart. Throw your soul into the furnace. This is the great conflagration. Nothing false will survive. Nothing true will perish. This is the process. This is the war. The battlefield is you. The battle is absolute. If you don't like it, don't do it. It will always be here, waiting. Jed McKenna. Chapter 15. This isn't really Plato, is it? Let us forget the lapse of time. Let us forget the conflict of opinions. Let us make our appeal to the infinite and take up our positions there. Chuang Tzu. When I get home, it's quiet time, so I tiptoe upstairs and run the shower. I have an embarrassingly excellent bathroom that is as great a departure from the house's agricultural roots as the home theater room. When Sanaya came in, it was only natural that she should take the upstairs guest room. The house only had one full bath, and so we had to share it, which was slightly awkward for both of us. She decided, that the best solution was to convert one of the other upstairs bedrooms into a master bath accessed from my bedroom. At first she included me in the planning, but she quickly became exasperated with my meddling desire for simple functionality. She already had control of the household accounts, so she just excluded me from the process and did what she wanted. So what I ended up with was one of those bathrooms like you see in design magazines. She did it in an elegant cherry wood and black granite style that doesn't excessively violate the overall feel of the house. The design is very Japanese in its simplicity, and I certainly couldn't have wished for anything better. I whined about the cost of it at one point, and Sunaya just looked at me like I was soft in the head. She knows that money is just something that flows, that it comes and it goes, and that if you don't disrupt the flow, there's always plenty. It's me who sometimes forgets. The shower doesn't take long to heat up. A big water heater was installed in the attic just for this bathroom, especially to accommodate the multiple shower heads and the large black massage jet tub. I inserted myself into the construction process only long enough to insist that the new water heater also supply Sonoya's bathroom, because by then guests were already starting to encamp downstairs, and I didn't want Sonoya to run out of hot water due to the increased demand. There's no tub in her bathroom, so she takes mine over for a few times a week for a long soak with scented oils and candles and music. While showering, my mind revisits the afternoon on the grass with Jolene. I had used a variation on Plato's cave analogy to illuminate the differences between enlightenment and mysticism, and she seemed to get it pretty well. If you haven't noticed, I'm big on analogies. In fact, here's an analogy about why I like analogies. If you're trying to explain fire to someone who's never seen it or felt it, then you're pretty much stuck with comparing it to things they're already familiar with. Of course, it's no substitute for the direct experience of fire. It's just the best you can do under the circumstances. It serves the additional purpose that, when they come across real fire, they'll know what they're looking at. Jolene wasn't familiar with the Plato's cave allegory, much less my cinematic variation, so I took it from the top and ran through it quickly. There's a guy sitting in a movie theater, but he doesn't really know he's in a theater. He's seated in such a way that all he can see is the screen. No other seats, no other moviegoers, just the screen. What's more, he's shackled. He can't move around, can't look around. His head and body are held in place by chains. This isn't really Plato, is it? Not only that, but he's been here his entire life. It's the only reality he's ever known. Sitting here, watching images on the screen and listening to the soundtrack. That's all he knows of reality. You're making this up. So think about what it's like when you go to see a movie. Have you heard the term willing suspension of disbelief? She shook her head no. It's the deal you make every time you go to a movie. You agree to relax your discrimination and let the movie in. You know the movie isn't reality, but you will sit quietly for 2 hours and allow yourself to experience it as if it were. You suspend your disbelief in order to form an empathetic bond with the plight of the characters, and the movie, in return, agrees not to overstrain credulity and make it too difficult for you to believe. Make sense? Like playing make-believe? She asked. Exactly. And then, when the movie's over, you go back out into the harsh light of reality and stop suspending your disbelief. Okay? Sure. So our guy is sitting there, watching the film, completely absorbed and believing that this is all there is to life. He has no disbelief. He is empathetically bound to the characters and events on the screen. After all, what else does he know? The images on the screen are reality, and that's what life is. Okay, she said, somewhat dubiously. But then, one day, for whatever reason, he happens to look down and notice that his shackles aren't really locked. His captivity has been an unchallenged illusion. Cool. Yeah, that's what he thinks, but scary, too. So he gets himself free of his bonds and, for the first time ever, stands up and looks around. In looking around, it begins to dawn on him that there's another level of reality of which he has always been completely ignorant. That makes him wonder about the images on the screen that he had always unquestioningly accepted as reality. So he looks around and sees the flickering lights overhead and traces them back to the source. The projectionist booth, she said. Right. So now, where are we? Our guy has freed himself from his delusion and begun the process of awakening to the larger reality, right? She nodded. He's looking around inside the theater, exploring this new, realer reality, right? She nodded. In this dark theater, he has always been watching the light, right? The light reflecting off the screen. But now he sees the source of the light, the source of the images he mistook for reality before. So now he identifies the projectionist booth as the true source of reality, since that's where the light is coming from, the only light in the whole place. Come on, said Jolene, feeling that I was stretching it. Hey, it's a wake-up story, not a bedtime story. If you've got a problem with it, talk to Plato. Okay, go ahead. You get the point, right? The guy is in his first stages of breaking free and discovering the truth. He's seeing that what he always thought of as reality was just a two-dimensional trick of light and shadow. He's pulled back the curtain and revealed the wizard. Yeah, I get it, she said, smiling, indulging me. Delusion, I cried. I get it, she said, giggling. Okay. So, our guy musters the courage to have a look around the theater. As you might imagine, It takes him a while to adjust to this new and far vaster, far richer reality. It takes time for his muscles and senses to adapt, not to mention dealing with the emotional impact of the fact that his life up until this point has been a sham. "You're sure this is Plato, right?" she asked playfully. "The Plato?" "Believe me, you're getting the user-friendly version." She laughed, and I continued. "Our guy might also see that the aisle leads to a door, and that light is coming in beneath the door. Maybe he sees it. Maybe he doesn't. Got all that? Is that it? No, that's just what's going on. Now, we're going to use it to answer your question." I forgot what my question was. "I'll wait." "Oh, yeah, the difference between mysticism and enlightenment." She was getting the hang of giving me grief. She rolled up on her knees as if that were her posture of full attentiveness, and I continued. "Once he's over the initial shock and is adjusted to his new reality, he sees that the theater is actually quite large and full of other people like himself, engaged in all sorts of different activities." "Plato said this?" she asked. "No, this is me talking now. Plato didn't have this much fun with it. What we're seeing now is that there are a lot of people in the theater engaged in a lot of different activities," she sassed. "Oh, really?" I sassed back. "What sort of people? What sort of activities?" She was a bit perplexed. "I don't know. It's your theater," she said. "It's yours now," I replied. So she gave it some thought. To her credit, she didn't just start blurting out answers. I knew she was reviewing the theater in her mind, trying to put it together. If I could only have one teaching tool, it would be the updated cave analogy. Almost any aspect of the journey of awakening can be explained in the framework of the cinema and on the aisle that leads to the exit. Of course, I've taken a number of liberties with the allegory, but I think Plato would have approved. "Yamamoto Roshi is in the theater," she stated with certainty. "Okay. What's he doing?" "Teaching?" "Teaching who? Me?" "I don't know, Jolene. Why did you go to see him? Why are you here with me? Why aren't you off buying clothes with your girlfriends or sharing a malted with your best guy?" "Because I'm not fooled by the images on the screen anymore?" She made a question of it and was watching me, wanting to be told. "You tell me," I said. She thought about it for a while before speaking. "When I was 15, I was sitting in church with my parents, and I just had this totally powerful, amazing thought. I was looking at the backs of all these heads in the pews in front of me, and it just dawned on me that they were like cows, like cattle, like they weren't really human beings, like they were just cows that were pretending they were people. Well, I thought it was so funny. I started giggling uncontrollably, and I had to pretend I was coughing and sneak out the back. My mother was really mad." She paused, maybe only putting it together for the first time. "But the thing is, it never really stopped. I still see almost everyone that way. My teachers, my family, my friends. It's like they aren't really awake. Or like they just don't get it. Or like they're not really there." She paused again, thinking before speaking. Always a good sign. "That's why I started going out to your house last year. That's why I went to hear Yamamoto Roshi. I wanted to be around people who didn't seem like they had been taken over by aliens. Am I weird or something? It seems to me like I'm the sane one and everyone else is insane, or like I'm awake and they're all asleep. But thinking that way sounds like the definition of insanity." I remembered that during her impassioned plea for me to treat her seriously, that she had said, "I don't want to be just another but didn't finish the thought. Now I knew what she wanted to say.